Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Business from the Bass Boat Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Deacon. And guys, today we've got a great episode lined up. I'm excited to bring Ben Green of Ben Green Insurance Agency, the Fisherman's Agency, onto the show, guys. Someone I found just through kind of networking and that kind of a thing. I actually saw an article on just kind of the misconceptions in the fishing world, and just really wanted to bring it on to talk about the insurance agency itself, something so niche, kind of targeting bass fishermen, as well as just kind of get some information out there and go through some of the things you really need to pay attention to as a tournament angler when it comes to the insurance side of things. So without further ado, let's bring Ben into the stream.
Hello, Adam.
Ben, how are you, man?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well.
Nice. Hey, thanks for having me on today.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Thanks for taking the time out. I know you're a busy guy. You just went through a big move. So thanks for coming on.
I've learned a lot, actually, doing a little research on your show about other business owners and business from the bass boat. There's a lot of opportunity for a lot of us out there to have businesses in this great industry and be part of this great community.
Exactly, man. Awesome. Well, good to hear that you've done a little bit of listening. So first and foremost, man, how have you enjoyed Tennessee? What was the move like, the transition? Let's get into a little bit about you moving all the way from California to, the bass fishing Mecca.
Right. I appreciate it. It actually was pretty interesting. We had kind of had an idea of a plan of retiring in this state, and that, was far off, and came up for something to look at some land that we had seen for sale. We thought, okay, well, let's buy land. That's a good step. And then as over time, we could pay off the land and then ultimately not have to make any payments when we get to town. So we came out here, we fell in love. Of course, unfortunately, COVID hit, which offered some opportunity. It offered people that could work from home and not necessarily be downtown to a centralized location. And in building Ben Green Insurance Agency, I was building it out of Pasadena, California. So anybody on the West Coast can say, hey, this guy was driving every other weekend to get to Clear Lake, to get to the Delta, to basically get to that angler base as I built the business. So
sure.
When it came up and my wife said, here's an opportunity, we're going to go take a look at Tennessee. And then that whole timeline started fast forwarding extremely quickly.
Yeah.
I kept trying to countersell her on the idea. I was like, you sure you're going to be okay here? You sure you're going to make friends here? You sure there's enough for you to do here? And she said, what, you don't like it? I said, it's not that I don't like it. It's exactly everything that I've wanted my whole entire life.
Yeah.
So as you said, the bass fishing Mecca, if we look and we draw a line from North Carolina to Texas, where relatively we all travel. Of course, there's the northern states. We can't leave out Michigan and such, but the bulk of the bass fishing anglers in that world are North Carolina to Texas.
Yep.
And I'm smack dab in the middle of that, of that trail. And so the other thing is that I could jump on an airplane. Believe it or not, my time, this is the greatest thing about this deal.
Okay.
My time to leave to go to the Delta or Clear Lake, and my expense load if I tow a boat, is exactly the same if I go jump on a Southwest Airlines flight, head to Sacramento. I'm showing up, I'm on the back of a boat, I'm fishing, and I fly back home.
Wow. That's awesome, man. For those who have flown with fishing rods or anything, I'm headed up to fish the Northern Bassmaster Open on the St. Lawrence River, or the Thousand Islands tournament. I love Southwest, man. First of all, flying, you get your 2 bags. You get generally tickets are pretty inexpensive. And by the way, for anyone listening, as a tip, you can fly with fishing rods with Southwest, and it counts as one of your bags. It has to be in an enclosed case, and there's regulations on how long and that kind of a thing. But I have flown to a couple events as a co-angler and been like, wow, that was a lot cheaper than pulling my boat somewhere. So that's really cool.
Yeah, it was really exciting to figure out. We've already tested it a couple times with Clear Lake recently. So,
man, dude, that's awesome. That's really, really cool. And I'm glad to hear that you're enjoying the area, and you're dead on, especially for your business and everything else. I just feel like you are in, you see so many pro anglers move to that region of the country when they make it to that tour level, because it's kind of just a good central part of the bass fishing world, and you can really travel anywhere. And let's face it, you're really close to all the big Tennessee lakes. You know, Gunnersville's down the road. You've got Chickamauga. You've got all kinds of stuff right in your wheelhouse.
And that's what blew my mind, quite frankly. What had happened was I had spent a whole summer at the Delta trying to get familiar with that fishery. And then this season, I was going to spend the whole season fishing with a really good, he's my team partner, Jeb Bunker. We were going to fish together at Clear Lake so that I could build up for that Toyota series and have, you know, a better understanding of those bodies of water. Well, you fast forward that with this move, and I just transferred everything for the Toyota series to the Central Division.
Sure.
The Central Division on Gunnersville, I show up and I'm looking around. And unfortunately, I think we were there about 15 minutes before boat check closed. So I didn't have a lot of time to look around, but I'm looking around and, you know, I'm a big fan of the bass fishing world. So I'm seeing guys that I had never seen before being out west. I mean, in person. Sure. I've only read articles and such. And the next day I told my co-angler, I said, hey, we're going to get there really early. And he's like, why is that? And I'm like, because I've never seen so many top level tour pros in their own backyard. And I'm fishing with them.
Exactly, man. Dude, that's awesome. Very, very cool. Well, let's kind of transition here into kind of your background and really where the idea evolved for BGIA, really coming through with a niche kind of a deal here in the bass fishing industry and building a business around it. So did you grow up in California then too? And did you grow up fishing? Did you get into fishing later? What happened with the fishing?
Yeah, so basically I grew up in Illinois for the first part of my life up until high school, about middle of high school, sophomore year. And my stepdad was a tournament fisherman, local, maybe regional type activity. And we had always been around it. In fact, on our vacations, we went down to Flippin, Arkansas and got to tour the Ranger boat facility, which was pretty awesome. We spent a lot of time at Kentucky Lake, but as time advanced, I moved out to California to live with my dad and my stepmother.
Okay.
And basically I kind of kept that fishing in the back of my mind, but I didn't really take it up too much until maybe about 6 years ago. So 6 years ago, my brother, he's actually the one that's out of the group here. He's the one that's trying to propel to a tour level and compete at that level. I just like any competition I could get, but getting ahead of ourselves there a little bit. So about 6 years ago, he said, hey, you can join what's called a Costa and you can fish as a co-angler. And he said, you could bring your little Ned rig, because that's right when that TRD Ned rig was coming out. Yeah. And that's all I knew how to throw. So he's like, you just do that and you're going to go fish some of these places and you don't even have to practice. And, you know, we went through hours of co-angler etiquette and what I needed and my cold tags, my balance beam, everything else. So he got me really prepared. And I went out and I fished that first tournament. And on the drive home, I was talking to my brother and he said, hey, I'm having real problems with my boat insurance. Can you take a look at it? And I'm like, I don't know what to do with it. My background's always been in commercial insurance. So prior to starting this business, my position was insuring franchise auto dealers, 250 employees or more. And I had a territory of 3 states, California, Arizona, Nevada. Wow. So I'm looking at these boat policies going, I don't know. I don't know, A, how to even write one of these things. B, if it's even worth it to write it. And how are you using this boat? And so you take a guy that's relatively new, been around the fishing world my whole life, but relatively new to competitive fishing, because until you actually go out there and fish a tournament, you really don't know too much about what the experience is, right? So Brian Partak, that's my brother, and he said basically, hey, put a little time into this, maybe go sponsor something, and now this could become ultimately a niche. And at the time, I had my own insurance brokerage, but I didn't have a niche specific focus other than maybe workers' compensation. And what happens is it's kind of like a shotgun or spaghetti approach. You throw it up against the wall, see what sticks. Well, I started digging into these boat insurance policies and digging into these tournaments and digging into the risk management that sat around the whole entire environment and really put it together. And my first sponsorship activity was the 2016 US Open at Lake Mead.
Yeah.
So there I am at Lake Mead with that, and I got 2 manufacturers that I insure. One makes shooting targets, rubber dummies. It's basically a shooting target company, and one makes skateboards. So I have 2 prizes that are not endemic to bass fishing on my table and a bunch of my signature Lucky lanyards. And guys are just, and gals are just walking by and looking at me like, oh, it's another insurance guy. We don't want to talk to this guy, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
About 8 months after that, Adam, was our first sale. 8 months after that was my first boat policy.
Wow.
So we fast forward that whole process until today, 2021. We have 2,300 anglers insured in 20 states.
Wow. Very cool.
And there's only 3 of us. So to get back to the original question, the Tennessee, what's the move for? Yeah. We're actually building a building here. And then within that building, we'll have a true office centrally located in South Pittsburgh. And from that platform, we're going to build out and we'll be able to expand better services for our customers, better product lines for our customers, and overall a better degree of attention to detail. I think we do really well with, there's 3 of us that are here currently, but there's always room to improve. And Tennessee is just hit it out of the park we couldn't ask for a better place to build this business.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, that's an incredible story. And I think I saw one of your videos talking about the shooting targets. The guy, I think he was on your move or something, and you stopped in to see his place. I was just like, man, what a cool, that's another one of those kind of niche businesses, right? Or it's just, you can, I just love those niche businesses for some reason. Filling those little needs are cool to me.
Yeah.
So really, really great story. Moving all the way from California into Tennessee, how has, in your experience, just maybe outside of the business, just the tournament culture, I mean, like you said, seeing all these big names that you've seen everywhere, that kind of a thing. What's the difference, would you say, in the bass fishing culture from going and fishing a tournament on Clear Lake versus a tournament on Chickamauga or a local lake? What do you see the differences? I'm just curious because I haven't spent much time where you are, but I've spent time fishing on Clear Lake and some of the Western tournaments.
I think if we're talking about personality styles, I think we're all fishermen. We're kind of cut from the same cloth. You go out there and you extend yourself and you say, hi, my name's Adam, just like how you and I met. Yeah. And people open up and they start talking to you, and you create friendships that last a lifetime. The boater co-angler relationship, I mean, because you fished on both sides, it's something that you create lifetime memories from, but also lifetime friendships. 9 out of 10 of those experiences are out of the park. So from that perspective, very welcoming. You do your thing, you give to the community gives back to you, type of thing. But the fishing, oh my gosh, Adam, let me tell you something. Coming from the West Coast to this area, the biggest deal is the weather. People can, as kids, we're watching Bassmasters or FLW or whatever it was, and they're talking about who can make the adjustments. And I'm like, adjustment? What's like, oh, you're throwing a finesse today and you're throwing a reaction yesterday? No. When there's weather that comes through here, you drop 40 degrees, you mud up the creeks mud up the water, the timber is now floating, your fish are gone. You're not going to have a chance, at least me, because I haven't adapted well enough yet to learn how to catch these fish. Yeah. So I'm out there and I'm like, first off, are we going to even have a tournament? Because there's logs floating all over this lake. Oh yeah, we are. They went out the night before. This is Dale Hollow specifically.
The Toyota on Dale Hollow, man.
The Toyota series. There's a little video on my YouTube about it, but they went out there and they cleared the entire area. I couldn't believe the task at hand. They cleared all these logs out of the way so that everybody could bring their boats in. Didn't even see a log come tournament day. And I was blown away. And I just went out there. I told my co-angler, hey, we got high hopes. We got good expectations. I've caught one keeper in practice. So we're going to that one place and I'm going to set the boat on the same line and I'm going to see if lightning strikes twice. And it did. I caught a couple of fish. Yeah. I didn't set the world on fire, but I did not blank my first year. So I was pretty good. I'm pretty happy with those results in the central region. But that's the big difference is definitely, the lightning, the thunder, boom, you got to adapt. And I just didn't have that skill set in my bag.
No, man. So really, I agree. That's something that kind of brings up a story of mine. Actually, it is related to Andrew Loberg, the guy who just won the Toyota series on the Delta, man. He's a good friend of mine. We fished with each other in college at the national championship, then also on Lake Mead. But at the national championship, Andrew and I both were on this pattern, right? Like a lot of guys were catching fish off ledges. This was on Green River Lake in Tennessee, a small lake that has river ledges and It was July or August, man. It was brutally hot, right? Terrible time of the year to be fishing. And I think there was one guy that caught a limit both days of the entire tournament, college national championship, or one team rather. And we ended up both getting on the same bite and didn't realize it, but we had him in practice. Like we were catching 15 plus a day. And again, very, very tough tournament, 15 pounds, 17 pounds a day, really, really shallow in the creeks. I mean, in the channels, we were throwing square bills and he was throwing a big spinner bait, but we were doing the same thing. We'd find each other in every hole. We'd be in the back of as far back in the creek we could find where water was coming in. Well, rainstorm comes through. And I mean, I have never experienced, and this was on the tournament day, a harder rain in all my tournament fishing across the country. It was to the point where my buddy Alex Stewart and he was my co-angler team partner, and we literally sat there and I was like, dude, if you get bit, you're gonna need to scream because I can't hear anything. I mean, it was raining that hard to where you couldn't see more than you couldn't run. I mean, you couldn't see more than 15 feet in front of you. It was absurd, and it blew out all those creeks. The mud kicked in. All the guys that were fishing shallow didn't do well, and Andrew and I both were like, that was terrible, man. So, anyways, you're right. The weather is absurd.
Yeah, that's the biggest difference.
Makes sense, man. Cool. So, with your move and everything that you're looking to do in that central part of the country, have you had much success at this point? Networking with some of the guys in the Toyota series, some of these local guys, trying to start to get some of the business. And I understand you can represent anyone across the country, right? You said 20 states, but I would presume before this, most of your business was California, Western anglers, that kind of a thing. Has it been a pretty good transition in just trying to get that brand name out there in locally with some of these events?
It's been truly amazing. We really right now, because we're building the building and we're working on the infrastructure, we really have toned back any type of advertising, and we're just trying to handle the volume of customers we have. And then if people do call in, we're able to take care of them, but we're not out there guns blazing. I can tell you though, with the Toyota series, with the Rattle Trap Open that I fished at Guntersville, with some of these other networking events, there's plenty in the hopper when that day comes. And these guys have said, hey, when you're ready and you're in a position where you can work on my account, here's the information. And what's really interesting about the bass fishing world that we've discovered is that these guys know if they call me, I'm not going to sit there and try to sell them something. I'm going to find out what they need, obviously, first, what they have currently. If there's any improvements that could be made to their current program, that's fine. I mean, they made that decision to buy that insurance for a reason. We're not going to sit there and say, you got to buy this, or keep calling them or follow up with them and keep hammering them. We do refer a lot out. There are other guys in the industry that do cater to bass fishermen, and we do refer a lot of business out if it's not a fit for us. So we kind of all work together in this insurance environment. And ultimately what that does for the customer is we're just an extra set of eyes. If we can offer you a solution, great. And if we can't, that's fine too. But right now with where we're at, it's probably going to be about 12 to 16 months where I feel that we are adequately trained and up to speed to start a marketing campaign and really, really push it. However, I can tell you that this area specifically is an excellent area for that. You have a lot of these fishermen that are independent business owners. They're independent business owners. They also understand, just like we understand, the value of a rod and reel, the boat. But the most important thing in the bass fisherman's world is the value of time.
Mm-hmm.
We're sitting there scrambling before a tournament. You are scrambling to get on that airplane, get everything dialed in. You're scrambling when you're a boat owner to get everything, make sure everything's right and tuned, and those screws are locked down and those bolts are tightened. And the last thing that you need is to worry about, is this insurance claim going to get paid? What's going to happen with this situation? How long is it going to be that I'm back on the water? So our most important asset, even outside of fishing, obviously the most important asset is the value of time.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens with us, and the reason that a lot of folks like to do business with us, is if you have an accident, you blow off that lower unit, we can not only just talk the terminology to the claim adjuster, which, by the way, the carriers that we represent, they already know us and our customers pretty much on a first name basis in the claims departments. But we can talk to that person that services the outboard at the dealership level, and most of them across the nation. And as I grow out here in the central United States, I'm making more relationships with these guys. So that speed of trust, as Stephen Covey talks about, is so much more quick and important in the process. And we get the guys paid, or we get the service manager, the business owner, we get them paid. They know the check's coming. They get that boat back on the water and you're fishing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I man, great points with the time thing. That's something that I think, and you and I have talked off the show, kind of not to get meta or big just around this thought process here, but like, I think we're seeing this push, and I think in the tournament fishing world, there is a large number of independent business owners, right? And I think of guys locally, just in my tournament series, and the guys that are able to take that time and travel and go make a run at this thing and have that kind of financial backing with their business, and they all work really hard, and every single one of them, all of us, right? Like you said, scrambling. I mean, the last day or two before going to a tournament, and I fished the Central Toyotas this year with your brother. Those are crazy, man. Like the last 2 days are the most miserable thing. Like I can't stand it, getting the truck ready and making sure I have everything. And that's exactly right, man. As a person who's had a couple bass boat insurance claims just regarding grafts and all kinds of different things, it can be an absolute pain. And I think that that having the ability to realize, as an angler yourself, as a tournament guy, you understand that stress that deals with all of us, and that's I think a very important part that people need to realize in the insurance world is it may not necessarily be the cheapest option, but are you going to be covered, and is everyone going to understand what you're doing, right? I mean, those are two really important things in our industry.
And we've really done one of the biggest things I think that we do that's a little different than your regular person down the street is, it's not just the boat, right? You've got kayaks, you've got all kinds of sporting equipment. You've got, if you have a fishing interest, you certainly have interest in other sporting outdoor activities, etc. You have guns, maybe. So the homeowner's insurance, the personal umbrella. If you have an accident, you're driving your boat, you get an accident, you're driving a car, you get an accident, umbrella over all of that to protect your assets, and then how that transitions into the business. We like to do business with a lot of the folks that are in the fishing industry, and it just helps. It goes hand in hand. So it's easier to cross market. If we're doing YouTube, I try to stop in and see my customers. Or anytime we go to the lake, we try to go to the local tackle store and get them on the little video. I'm not a big YouTuber by any means, but I try to put good quality content in there and show the fun of this industry. And one thing that I wanted to touch on with the small business owners in the fishing community, probably like you, Adam, we walked into that boat dealership and we saw this unbelievable amount of money for that boat. And we saw this unbelievable amount of money for that fishing rod and that tackle. And we sat there and we thought, let's begin with what we want, as a consumer. And I realize not everybody has the same ability to do this, but you go out there and you try to forge a new territory, because working a 40-hour job it's very, it's respectable, absolutely, but it might not be able to afford you those types of things. So a lot of us got innovative. We're bass fishermen. I mean, think of it from really what we do. We have to put ourselves in an ecosystem of some unpredictable fish, and we've got to come up with a concept to put that fish in the boat. It's a very parallel universe, business is. So we've got to go out there, and I'm not saying my customers are fish, but that's really what the harvest is, right? You've got to go out there and you've got to build the trust. You've got every single thing that we do in bass fishing parallels what we do in business, I would say, to a T. And so that's why I think there are a lot of innovative bass fishermen, that are entrepreneurs and or executives at organizations, leaders at organizations that can come out here and do this.
Yep. Exactly, man. No, I think it's a route that you're seeing. And I think that it's a responsible route and a very entrepreneurial risk route, right? I mean, I think that people in kind of this tournament, let's face it, we're gambling with money, right? Fishing these tournaments. And I think that a lot of guys also like to gamble on themselves from a business standpoint, to be able to have that ability to take off. And don't get me wrong, like it can be brutal, these guys working ridiculous amount of hours and to try and make something happen. But I think that people, there's just something that goes hand in hand, like you said. And that, and in my opinion, I mean, coming from your side of things on the insurance thing, like that's right. I mean, somewhat of your target market, right? If you have a guy that's financially responsible, that has assets, right, then you can insure not just the boat, you can insure kind of like you said, the umbrella, and make sure that those assets are protected as a whole, as an angler.
That's right. And it's frustrating when you have an insurance claim and you don't know who the person is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the biggest thing that we all realize here in the organization is I want to see you at the boat ramp, Adam. I don't want to have a bad or unpleasant experience at the boat ramp. So a little bit plays to the vanity on how we take care of our customers, because I want to see those guys and I want to see them happy. I don't want any arguments. I don't want people saying you didn't do this or you didn't do that. So we're very specific on who we let be a customer of Ben Green Insurance Agency. Really, we're not for everybody.
Yeah.
That guy that's kicking and screaming to the boat ramp and swearing that everybody cut him off and everything else, probably not that guy.
You don't want that guy. Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
But the guy that realizes that we start with the value of time and then we build, and understands that we value that angler and we value what that angler goes through, and there's a mutual respect. That's the guy that we want in our business.
Absolutely, man. That respect's a big deal. Let's get into a little bit about exactly what you guys offer. You said not for everyone. Who maybe, like you said, the respect side of things, but as far as boats, that kind of a thing, what are kind of some stipulations around what you guys are requiring per se to have kind of your insurance and have that high level of needs met for some of these anglers?
Sure. Because of the volume right now, we're 2017 and newer.
Gotcha.
We're just trying to control the volume that's coming into the agency.
Sure.
On watercraft. Now, there are exceptions that can be made if we do insure your home or your auto, or if you had a newer boat or you were a prior customer, we'll still do whatever we can to get to take care of your insurance needs. If you're outside of that window, 2017 and older, we refer all day. And we also explain how to work with your agent to set up that policy. And it takes a lot of time. So I don't really want a million people calling and saying, here's what I have. I have a 2015. Is this good? So what we've done is we've done certain videos that are out there that basically show what the coverages are and the coverages to look at and have those conversations with your current agent. In the future, we might keep that 2017 and newer. Believe it or not, and I'm just looking at the time real quick, but believe it or not, we've got plenty of time.
Okay.
The biggest issue that we have is that we do not make money insuring bass boats. Mm-hmm. Overall, as an organization, this is the secret to the Cinco, I want to say. Mm-hmm. We don't make money insuring bass boats. What does that mean? Of course you do. You're selling it like it's crazy. Well, what happens is we have a responsibility to the insurance carrier. If the insurance carrier is constantly paying out more money than they're bringing in premium on one product line, they're going to wipe us out. They're going to cancel us. It's not a good business relationship. So to offset that, we need the home, we need the auto, we need the small business. And what happens is cumulatively that loss ratio that's the industry term, loss ratio. That's in a positive light with that insurance company. And that insurance company continues to do business with us, pay our claims, talk to our customers and say, oh, we know Ben when you have a claim on your watercraft, and we're going to take care of you. Or, oh, we know Last Chance Performance Marine, let's say as a dealer, for example, we know that process. That's all going to go away if we continually put high loss ratio business into that pot, right?
Sure.
For that carrier. So we do have that background responsibility. And that's kind of the thing that people don't understand. They think, well, you just sell it. I see it in the forums all the time, and it absolutely drives me nuts, Adam. Somebody will say, call my buddy Bob Johnson. Okay. And he just sells it. And then you have a policy with the company. That's not how that's how the regular world works. That's not how we work at Ben Green Insurance Agency.
Yeah.
Siri off. Alexa off.
You're good. You're good.
That's not how we work. Here's the big buildup, and I just left it with this thing. So what happens here is we don't just place you with that carrier, right? We have to understand what you actually have to protect. And we also have to understand that when you have a claim, the only thing we tell you to do, which is the way that the carrier wants it, is you file the initial claim. After that, if there's any pushback, if there's any problem, we get involved on your behalf and work with that adjuster until you're paid. That's the big difference.
That is a huge difference.
So I'm not just sitting there going, hey, I'm going to place you with Great American Insurance Company, let's say, and then you're on your own to deal with those folks.
Yeah.
Adam, if you've made a claim,
I have
made a claim. I've been in this business 20 years. I felt so insecure about making my own claim that they automatically think that I'm not being truthful or I'm being deceitful, or if I say one word, they're going to kick it out, and now I'm going to have to go to a manager. Maybe I have to get an attorney and fight them. Oh, it's a mess. Mm-hmm. So working with this process, though, that's why I said that mutual respect and who comes in. If I got the guy that wants to come in and disrupt the apple cart and already thinks insurance companies are out to get him, or he has bad intentions, and I get a bunch of those going into the carrier loses trust in Ben Green and Ben Green Insurance Agency, and we don't have anything. We don't have anything for the people out there that really are saying, hey, I ran into 15 rocks, I lost control, my mapping card, I looked up, I hit a tree, whatever it is. Now that situation, we're going to be able to get that guy paid. But if we're constantly having things where these insurance companies are going, really, bud?
Yeah.
Not good. So
yeah. No, look, Ben, I really, really appreciate you bringing that transparency into the business model and really what you guys are doing with these insurance companies, because like you said, I think the biggest thing with all of this is the relationship and the fact that let's face it, insurance companies are starting to understand, these large conglomerates are starting to understand the tournament bass fishing world, right? We blow lower units. We break graphs because you hit it with a 2-ounce tungsten. Like, I mean, you do things that your typical boat owner is not going to run 65, 75 miles an hour down the lake, right? There's things that tournament anglers do that you have to have that offset with another business, because the loss ratio, I mean, I would say, you're aware of the actual numbers, but like,
we set the high score, Adam. I'm just telling you, if anybody's out there that wants to get into insuring bass boats, take a step back.
Yeah.
We set the high score in loss ratio for an organization. They did cancel us. We still refer business to them. Even the folks that are getting rewritten to another program, we still say that was an excellent contract. That carrier might not have known what they were doing and what they were offering. And even though I had a ton of conversations with that carrier that it's not just me, this industry is going to mess you up. They never fixed anything or changed anything. They just decided, hey, we're the bad guys, so let us go. Well, 2017 and newer came into play. That carrier is not getting any of that business, and we have a better working relationship. So overall, it worked out. Short term, it was a big blow for us. I mean, now we have to do triple the work, right? And we're not getting paid on it. Yeah. So anybody that's out there that's thinking, oh, this is gravy, this guy really figured it out. If you don't have the elasticity in your loss ratio, you're not going to enjoy this business.
Sure.
It is a specific niche, and it comes with its own specific challenges. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, let's go over just, I guess, for consumers in general in the bass fishing world, tournament world, what are kind of some big misconceptions that you see as far as insurance, maybe lapse of coverage if, say, you're going to get a new boat?
Thank you.
Everything, man. Let's go through maybe a couple of misconceptions that you want to just get out to the public to realize.
Here are the things that really chap us. I mean, really get us going. A Saturday morning call. Hey, bud, I just bought this boat. I need insurance on it. Okay, so last week when you were going through the process, you didn't kind of consider, and I'm not picking on anybody. So everybody that watches this, don't think it's you, because it's tons of people. And this is the misconception part, and we're just going to be transparent about it.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Don't call us the day you're hitching the boat up, not the time, or even worse, when you're 5 miles down the highway and it's raining or it's snowing or there's sleet. And now we've got to stop everything that we're doing. We're good, but we're not perfect.
Yeah.
We do have families. We got to stop what we're doing, write up a contract for you. Oh, by the way, if we have 10 different insurance carriers, only one of them's open on the weekend. So that limits our ability to protect you the correct way in a lot of aspects. We try to do it our best. But again, we might have to put some contract in place and then change it down the road. And that's never good for the insurance company. That's breaking trust like we talked about. So be proactive. If you know you're going to that dealership, and also, by the way, there is a discount with some of our partners, a 7-day discount and a 15-day discount. But if you do it the same day, there's a 15% surcharge. So the carriers know about that.
Okay.
They price for it.
And you're saying, sorry, real quick. So you're saying
Sure.
between 7 and 15 days in advance and in coming to you and saying, hey, look, I've got this boat. I'm about to buy it. Here's what we need insured, right?
Correct. And on the flip side of that, you've got a lot of guys that are like, hey, here's my boat deal. It's going into manufacturing now. What's the process?
Yeah.
And I'm like, great. I appreciate it. We set a file. We set the follow-ups. We make sure that everything's right when you pick that boat up, because the finance desk should not let you go without proof of insurance at the dealership.
Sure.
There are dealers out there that'll check insurance. Here's another popular misconception for any dealers that are watching or people that work in the dealership. Yeah. Don't let that angler leave by them showing you insurance card on a 2017 Ranger when they're picking up a 2021 Phoenix, let's say, or 2022 is the year now, Phoenix, or whatever boat brand it is. The point is that it doesn't carry over like auto insurance. Don't think you're the insurance company and that they're all the same, because that could end up, putting that dealer in a financial situation. By the way, ownership transfers at time of possession in most states, which means that, Adam, if you buy a new boat and you're leaving and you get in an accident, that boat, if it didn't have insurance, now is on you. It's not on the dealership.
Sure. Wow. No, that's huge, man. And I bought a house. I guess it would have been 2 years ago now, and that was the same process. I didn't really think through of, oh crap, I need to get insurance on this thing before I buy it, because what happens when, even though I'm not living there yet, I had to buy it in advance. My lease on my rental place was there was going to be a lapse, and it was like, no, we need this in place before. So when we sign the contract, it's going to be fully insured. That's major importance. And I think that people just are, well, I'm going to go buy the boat, or like, especially if it's a private sale, right? You don't.
Right. And I want to touch on one thing, because we will get somebody that will comment if I don't say this.
Yeah.
When you hook that boat to that truck, the truck insurance does not cover the value of the boat.
Oh.
Okay. It'll cover the liability as a unit moving down the highway. You hit somebody else while they're connected, but it will not cover the value of the boat.
Wow.
Very important. And anybody that wants to take me to task on that, I welcome it, because I've fought this across the nation. And oh, by the way, what's it matter? Just go buy an insurance policy and put it on the boat before you pick it up.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, man. You got a $80,000 piece or $60,000 piece of fiberglass behind you that's uninsured if you do that.
And getting back to your house too, you go through a lot of the finance companies who have specialty deals with insurance.
Yeah.
And it's usually relatively almost always inexpensive. And you think, well, the finance company is the one that told me to buy this, so it's probably good. I don't know, because what happens is that there's cash arrangements that are paid at point of sale, commission splits, whatever you want to call it. So what's your best interest in that situation? It's definitely to call up your local broker or somebody you have a relationship with, or us, and say, hey, I'm buying this new house. This is what I need.
Yeah, sure, man. Awesome. I guess let's go into a little bit about maybe touring level guys, or like you said, Fish and Toyota Series guys with wraps on their trucks, boats, touring guys. What are some kind of things we need to be aware of when it comes to that level of guys?
It's a very slippery slope / gray area. So I'm going to do my best to unconvolute this theory and what we've come to discover.
Okay.
If you have a wrap on your truck, and I'm talking about a major sticker where you're getting compensated for, I'm talking about the full wrap like I have on my truck, and you have a bunch of brands that are on there, and you have any financial arrangement with them, whether that's product or cash compensation, you are operating a commercial vehicle.
Wow.
Most insurance companies across the nation will exclude if they find out. And remember, insurance companies, they're not always, your best friend. I got to be careful there, because there's trademarks and protections, right?
Sure.
But they're not always going to operate in your best interest when they have an opportunity to get out. Now, you nick a fender, sure, they're going to look right past that thing and they're probably going to pay that claim. You run into somebody and there's a bodily injury claim, that's more heavily weighted, or at least as heavily weighted as a DUI when you hit somebody else and cause bodily injury. They will investigate that and they will try to get out of that claim for any payment. So what does that mean? If you have some of your nice sponsors here, if you have them on the side of the truck, just call up your local agent or us and get a commercial policy or a commercial endorsement, right? So even on some of the personal lines carriers, they do offer a business use endorsement. And as long as it's clearly communicated, and clear communication, again, big tip right here, write this one down, literally. Clearly communicate with your agent in writing so you have a record of the communication. That is going to protect you for your knowledge with your agent and your knowledge with your carrier and every other situation that possibly could come up. It's got to be in writing or it doesn't exist. It's a lot easier to prove if you ever get into a pickle. So what happens in this commercial deal is you're driving down the road. Your buddy gave you $50 to enter a tournament. He gave you a handful of baits. You get into an accident. There's bodily injury, let's say, or it's just investigated enough property damage to trip the trigger at the carrier level. What they're going to do is they're going to look into if that person that you hit caused damage to, if they get an attorney, they're going to look into every single thing that's on your truck. And they could potentially name every single one of those companies as a defendant in that lawsuit. And they're absolutely in full accordance and permissible to do that because you have a financial arrangement. So you are technically working as an agent of that company and or an employee, depending on the capacity. So carriers, programs, sponsors, companies do not know that. And this is the big selling point. Everybody's saying, oh, there are a bunch of patch pirates out there. There are a bunch of guys that are just out there. And this is why companies don't have to pay.
Yeah.
Let's look at the true reality from a risk management standpoint from that sponsor company, right? If you are equal to all the anglers here, right? But then you get the appropriate insurance and you're filling in an application to be on their pro staff and you explain that and you put the paragraphs together that explain that you've done it, your stock value with that particular sponsor has gone up.
Yeah.
And whoever's sitting there at that desk, in certain organizations, they do understand it, especially as much as I've been trying to get this word out. Other organizations don't. And what I don't want to have happen, I don't care where you buy your insurance or how you set it up. I really don't. What I don't want to have happen is what I have already seen. One angler, and I can't spill the beans because it's confidential.
Sure.
One angler ultimately had to pay for causing damage to another party because his insurance policy did not respond. Bodily injury. And it was over a six-figure amount.
Wow. And it was because of a brand representation on his truck or something.
It was an exclusion on his boat policy that it wasn't used for commercial.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. And he's a tour level pro.
Yeah. And that's something too. Yeah. You know, and I think you've preached this before. I just want to get it out there. Like you're saying, look, I'm not for everyone when it comes to this, right? We're not for everyone. And I think that sometimes everyone, especially in the insurance world with these large brands, everyone's looking for the cheapest option, the cheapest this and that. But it's like, man, when it comes down to it, you gotta look at yourself and you're protecting yourself to the point of saying, look, I'm willing to pay a little bit more or more to have the correct coverage, the stuff that I really need for if something does happen, it'll pay itself in dividends, you know, way down the road.
In some cases, we are a less expensive option, even at point of sale, right? Okay. But definitely, you know, you've really got to get a grasp on this if you have, and you don't want to sit there and say, well, it's not covered. Because I can tell you from what at my desk on a daily basis, we hear about other carriers and we have guys calling in, and I say, well, what did they say it's excluded for? What was the exclusion that they told you? This and this and this. And I'm like, okay, here's the write-up for that answer. And they go back to it and they take it to the manager and they put it in writing, and all of a sudden the claim gets paid. So remember, some of the people that are at the adjuster's level, all they do all day is get a stack of paper, and no one's happy when they have an insurance claim. And so the person that's calling in is saying, you better, you better, you better. And these people are getting pounded all day. If you take a little bit of time with your claim and you give them the information and you articulate it in a way that they can just take it, mark that box, write a check, and get it off of their desk, they are happy.
Sure.
So it's all back to that communication, but I think we got off on it with the payment and premium and saving money, et cetera. Yeah, every single carrier goes out there and markets for, we could save you a bunch of money, blah blah blah. Again, trademark stuff, but what's the true money savings? Because at the end of the day, all I'm selling you is a book and a promise, right? I'm giving you a piece of paper and saying, Adam, when you wreck your boat, we're going to pay this. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Wow. Yeah. I think some really good points. And I definitely want to make it clear with people too, that when you do have stuff set up correctly, like you're saying, if you are approaching these companies just from an angler sponsorship standpoint, any way to prove professionalism is massive, and showing, and it also works, guys, too. Another thing that I've been dealing with over this last year is setting up an LLC regarding my tournament fishing and the podcast and all that, and having more of a professional outlay for tax return purposes, right? If you're going to have a business around the fishing industry, you need to have as much professional type stuff as possible. Not even if you're, whatever it may be, club tournaments, that kind of a thing. If you're looking to make this more of a career path, you want to be as professional as you can be, and showing that to sponsors, it gives you a leg up, man. It just shows that you care and that you're the real deal. You're not.
And that goes back to the boat ramp conversations where people are like, hey, I can't afford this. I can't do that. This guy's got all this. This was given to him, whatever. All those excuses boil down to, you've got to put the work in this game. Mm-hmm. You've got to be professional in this game. If you want other people to take notice, you've got to be the professional and step it up. And that's exactly what you're doing with everything that you're doing to build your foundation here, Adam.
Thanks, man. Well, I appreciate that. One other misconception that I wanted to talk about, or maybe something that's happened a lot recently around the country, over the last couple of years, and then personal friends, you see it with touring anglers. I mean, gosh, like Sam Rayburn, their parking lot got hit by so many people. But as far as equipment inside your truck, right? All of us, man, I have, I don't want to say this, but I thousands of dollars in the bed of my truck with my topper, right? Of tackle equipment, extra rods, extra reels, fishing tackle. Just, I mean, we're crazy, right? We're bass fishermen. We're seeing so many of those getting broken into over these last couple of years. I personally, on my boat insurance, I pay for fishing equipment coverage, like an extended, right? Whatever it may be, 10 grand in equipment on my boat is what where does that line cross? What insurance covers some of that stuff? Is there a way to cover that kind of a thing?
I really appreciate the time you taking this professional approach to doing your homework, because you're asking every single question that I love. First and foremost, if that gear is in your truck and it's not in your boat, there's no coverage on the boat policy, unless there's some specific endorsement that I've never seen in my entire life. Property away from premises on the boat policy. I haven't seen that. Maybe on the saltwater boats, there's something for dinghies, etc., but definitely not on a bass boat format. And if it is, it's not enough to cover what's in the back of your truck and mine, right? So then the second one is, commercial or auto insurance might pick it up. Nope, there could be a sublimit for contents. Maybe it's at the max of the 5,000, but again, you're looking at a premium, expensive policy relatively, and most of them do not have that. Where you're going to find that type of coverage is the two areas. We'll break it down. One, if you're a renter and you have renter's coverage, you could find that in your personal property away from premises. Now,
really?
Yes, you could buy a renter's policy. It will extend away from premises for your, basically it would be sporting gear. They can write an endorsement that while you travel, you could have it. That's one. There's going to be a small sublimit, but typically it could take care of like up to 10 grand, let's say. I'm shooting from the hip. We got a lot of states. We got a lot of different policies that we sell, but we would find that solution either A, in the renters. Now, if you own a home like yourself, homeowners will cover a certain amount of that property away from premises, same type of thing.
Got it.
Typically, it's going to have a little bit of a higher limit, but if you want to do it the right way, and this is the way that I did it, Just going to drop some names there. Tactical Bassin did a nice video with us.
Yeah.
Specifically, this is the policy that Matt Allen purchased.
Okay.
And I've sold it to a couple of the other pros that are aspiring tour pros across the nation. It is a business. It's business personal property. Let's put it on a commercial inland marine floater. That's what it is. Commercial inland marine floater. Okay. Typically, I think for about, I want to say $30,000 worth of coverage, you're at $500 annual. And what does that do? That covers you anywhere in the world.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So you're traveling to a foreign country and you got a bunch of GoPros. As long as they're scheduled on that policy, they're going to be covered. Theft, fire, vandalism, and in most cases, mysterious disappearance. I don't know if it was stolen or what. I don't know if I lost it. It's gone. They'll pay it.
Wow. Wow. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, yeah, I appreciate just that insight. That's something that I've always wondered about, especially.
We get that call all the time. Hey, my truck got broken into and I had all my rods and reels in there. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. 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 And we all know how expensive some of the stuff we carry.
Here's another quick pro tip while we're on the vehicles. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when your vehicle is going to get broken into.
Really?
A lot of people don't know this. Some cases there is no glass deductible. A lot of people assume they don't have a glass deductible for windshields, let's say.
Yeah.
In some cases, there's no glass deductible. In some cases, there's like a $50 glass deductible. And in some cases, it's your full deductible, whether it's $500 or $1,000, right? You want to know what that is because it's all safety glass in the vehicle. So it's your passenger door, it's your rear slider, it's whatever glass is in the vehicle. That coverage is extended to it. And that's about 90% true on the auto policies that are out there. You just got to dig in and see if your policy covers that. And then know that deductible, because if I get off the lake and I'm walking up and that window's broken, now all of a sudden I got a deductible for my window, my stuff's gone. It's a mess. I would rather have zero deductible or at least know what my deductible is.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, thanks, man. Again, more tips for all these guys. We all have the expensive gear in this game or are getting there because it's just a matter of time, man. With this game, you end up just spending more and more money on these assets. Awesome, man. Well, we're getting close to an hour. Let's kind of sum things up. I ask everyone on the show what their personal best, and you may have some big ones, man. California, personal best largemouth, smallmouth, and spotted bass, where you were when you caught them and what you caught them on.
So I'm very fortunate that my largemouth was in the tournament. I was in 88th place on the California Delta at the Wild West Bass Trail. I drew for my final day a good buddy and good customer, Trout Kendall. And Trout and I went out there and I said, Trout, I think I'm going to catch the biggest bag of the day. I'm just going to say it, which in fishing, we're superstitious and jinxed ourselves.
Was a feeling.
So I get this base bag of like 17 for $5, right? And I'm like, Trout, it's going to go down. We had a little, one of those moments on the boat where you can't even explain to somebody else because it was just you two that were there that, we've all done
feelings, man.
It's just like, oh man, is this real? And I said, I'm going to put my head down and start fishing because something's about to happen right now. And like the third fling, 866, eats my Brayback buzzbait. I made a video, thanking Michael Brayback for this bait. And I just swam that thing straight into the net. And Trout and I just looked at each other like, that's a 10-pounder. I weighed in and I ended up 2208, I think was that bag. And it was pretty awesome because I finished 11th. And then Bub Tosh, he came over and I never really had a conversation with him in my life. Puts his arm around me. He's like, 11th place is a good thing and a bad thing. And he explains it. And it's like right there in the camera and all this is happening. And I got big fish and I just missed top 10, which Bryant Smith, he was headed to another tournament and I probably could have talked him into letting me fish the next day, but we didn't figure out that until it was a little bit later. But so 866 largemouth. Spotted bass, my very first tournament ever. I drew Wayne Brazil and was a FLW at Shasta. Okay. And it was the first fish that I caught in a tournament. It was 277, so not a giant by any means.
Good spot, man.
But Wayne tells me, he's like, you have no idea what that fish just did for you. You have no idea what that fish just did for you. And he goes, what did you catch that thing on? And I showed him because, it was brand new at the time. Really, it was just broken in like the Missouri area Table Rock. And it was the TRD Z-Man Ned rig. Mm-hmm. And that fish ate it. And that whole series, that whole year, that's all I fished. But 277. Then my personal best smallmouth, it's not been weighed. It was opening day, Sturgeon Bay, May 1st. I want to say 2014 or 2015. I would say it's about 5 3/4, 575.
Wow.
Caught that with my stepdad, Rich Partak, up at Sturgeon Bay.
Very cool, man. Awesome. Yeah, I would love to. That's why I'm excited. And I'm not going to Sturgeon Bay, but I'm going to the St. Lawrence and Oneida and stuff. And I'm excited to spend time up there because I have not chased those kind of world-class smallmouth that are up there.
It's got to be amazing when they jump at the end of your line and you're like, oh boy, stay on.
Yeah, man. Well, one thing too that I forgot to mention. So your brother, Brian, and this was I think it was before I met you. We at Lake of the Ozarks this year, which, like you're saying, weather thing. Oh my gosh, he was icing up the lake.
Right, that's right.
And I did the same thing you were talking about. I had one area where I had one keeper bite, and I milked it and took 23rd with it. And
wow,
dude, and that was the only bite I had. I was like, I have nowhere else to go. What else am I going to do? And I just slowed down and grinded out with a jerk bait. But anyways, we were sitting there talking at the ramp one day for a while, and he's got the Lucas oil wrap on his truck, and I had no idea that you guys were brothers. And then we started talking. I was like, I don't think the guy's there's no way he'd remember me, but we had a conversation for like 10 minutes, man, just at the boat ramp, just talking about the fishing and how crazy the ice was and this and that. But
he'll remember you, I promise.
Okay. I had a little white legend bass boat, but anyways,
Ryan's one of those guys that's so dialed into this game that he remembers every fish he caught. I mean, he is a professional, has that professional mindset. He remembers every play of every game that he's ever been in.
Awesome, man.
So he'll remember you.
Cool. Well, man, you've thrown out some awesome stuff around your business and growing this thing. What's if you could go back to really all your experience in building this business in a niche industry, what is one piece of advice you would give to somebody looking to build a business in the fishing world?
It's something that I didn't understand when I was younger, especially, and it was to succeed best and quickest, help others to succeed best and quickest. And I didn't understand that when I was a younger guy and in my 20s in this insurance business. And now, absolutely. Like if you see any of my social media, I like to put, just like what you're doing, I like to put other people in there. I don't want the focus to be on me. I never talk about insurance in my videos. Maybe there's a pro tip here and there, but I don't talk about this is what we do. I don't use my logo very much. If the spotlight's on other people, definitely the reflection comes back on the person that has the spotlight. And I can attest to that, being 42 years old now and the position that I'm in, about ready to take this business to the next level. It's not me. It's the people around me that I serve that appreciate, I think, what we do, and then get the right like and kind people from their groups to sign up with us and or to support us. So that's the biggest tip that I have at the end of the day.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Great advice. What is the best way for people to I guess any plugs you want to give with BGIA? How can people follow along when you're ready again for that business, that extended stuff? What's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
YouTube's kind of cool. Ben Green Insurance Agency. Not a lot of fishing tips, but you're going to see a lot of fun activities in the community.
Very good. Yeah.
I blank a lot, but sometimes I do good. And
I've been watching it, man. It's been good.
It's not an acted out emotion when I do good. I get pretty excited. Facebook, we're big on Facebook. We have Ben Green Insurance Agency. You can like that. I think that's probably the best way right now, just to kind of hang out with us. BenGreenINS.com is our website. Okay. If you wanted a quote, or you were interested, or you said, hey, I'm pretty good for where I am now, but in the future, let me know. Keep in touch with me, or market to me, or sign us up for your newsletter, etc. But if it's something immediate, absolutely. 626-290-0888. And there's 3 different extensions. It goes through the prompt. That's kind of it. I mean, we're a small company, and we serve a lot of anglers, and we appreciate it. Every day we wake up and we know that we're blessed to be in this position that we're in.
Awesome, man. Yeah, and you get to talk fishing with all of them, hopefully, too. So
that's true. Not too long, though.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, nothing gets done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out, Ben. I really appreciate you coming on the show and bringing some of that insight to guys. I will go ahead and link, guys, all those, the Facebook page, the website, all that stuff in the show description. So go ahead and follow it there. One last thing I wanted to make sure and let everyone know, we have merged, Business from the Bass Boat has merged with the Serious Angler podcast. So we've got the Serious Angler Network. So all the YouTube stuff is on their YouTube channel. Serious Angler podcast, and my shows every Wednesday, just to kind of clear some of that up. It's been kind of an interesting process. So wanted to get that out there. Ben, thank you so much for coming on, man. And we will go ahead, and I'm sure I'll see you on the water somewhere someday.
Absolutely. Thank you, Adam.
All right, man. Thanks.